Hello and welcome to Treasury Notes, a show dedicated to the latest news and information from the office of West Virginia State Treasurer John Perdue. I'm Greg Stone, filling in for Gina Joins. Treasurer Perdue places a high premium on education, and he believes every person in West Virginia should have the opportunity to save for their education goals. Thanks to Treasurer Perdue's commitment to providing access to education, more than 20,000 future students in West Virginia have taken advantage of the Smart 529 College Savings Plan. Coming up later in the show, we'll talk to certified educational planner Jamie Dickenson. She'll have more on the importance of saving for a college education, when you should start, and the ways you can do that with the Smart 529 College Savings Program. But first, we want to tell you about a local business that has added a new employee benefit with college savings in mind. Kim Ward has more.
When you hear about a company's benefits package, it usually consists of health insurance or retirement plans. But one West Virginia business is hoping to lead the way for others to add an employee benefit aimed at promoting education. Waco Oil and Gas in Glenville recently set up a payroll deduction plan so their employees could easily contribute to a Smart 529 account. That alone makes it easier for people to manage a college savings plan. But Waco Oil and Gas took it one step further. At the same time they started offering payroll deduction, they offered to match their employees' Smart 529 contributions up to $250 a year. Treasurer Perdue recently met with Doug Morris, whose family owns and operates Waco Oil and Gas. On that visit, the treasurer learned that the decision to put up their own money for this program wasn't about business. It was about investing in the future generations of West Virginia.
You've got to be in business to make money, to survive. But at the same time, when you can help other people and help the community and so forth, like my father just truly loves to do, it makes all the difference in the world.
Giving back to the community is something Doug Morris learned from his father, Ike.
He has really been a major influence of a business leader that really believes in his state and believes in his community and believes in giving back.
You try to give back a little bit what you were fortunate enough to receive in life.
One thing Doug was fortunate enough to receive was help paying for his children's education. Years ago, his father Ike opened college savings accounts for his grandchildren. Now Doug wants to pass that gift of education on to his employees and their families.
But if they want to go to college and do some other things, I think that we have to make them be aware that they have that opportunity.
Jim Smith, an accountant at Waco, found the perfect way for Doug to do that. He proposed a matching program for Waco employees contributing to a Smart 529 plan.
I went and had a meeting with Doug, and literally 15 minutes later, boom, done.
For Doug and Jim, starting a Smart 529 matching program at Waco wasn't a business decision.
It wasn't like, well, how is it going to benefit us? It was, oh, we can do this for our employees. They're going to allow us to do this. Let's get it done.
Doug believes that helping his employees save will not only impact their families, but their communities and eventually the whole state.
Education is just so important. And there's so many youth in the state of West Virginia, and in the United States for that matter, that don't have the opportunity to go to school.
Doug and his employees see the many advantages to a Smart 529 program.
Not just for college, that it is for vocational schools, the technical schools.
That flexibility to be able to use it for any type of schooling you want, and the ability, let's say you have too much in the plan, or in the instance that somebody doesn't want to go to college, you just move it to somebody else.
For employees like Connie Carpenter, the tax benefits of a Smart 529 plan were an added bonus.
I was going to have more held out of my paycheck anyway to make sure I didn't have to pay every year, and that was like a double benefit there. I didn't have to do that. I could just take this out. It'll help on the taxes and have the money for him when he's ready.
Connie isn't the only employee that saw the benefits of Waco's Smart 529 matching program.
As soon as they heard the stuff, they were like, I've been waiting for something like this. I just didn't know how to get involved. And then from there, word of mouth started spreading around the company that we have this, and it's really not that hard.
And parents aren't the only ones saving with Smart 529.
I wanted to make sure that my grandchild would have an opportunity to go to college, and the money would be there when he got ready to do that.
Waco's matching program can offer even bigger savings for families with more than one child.
Let's say a worker has 3 kids and he thinks all 3 want to go to college. Well, this is on a per contract basis. So that employee with 3 kids can set up 3 contracts and get $750 every single year.
Waco is the first company in West Virginia to offer a Smart 529 matching program to employees, but Doug hopes it won't be the last.
People that I do business with, that something I need to probably do my part and bring up to them that this is something that we're doing and they ought to look into.
It can help a lot of business people like y'all's business here in Linville in helping their employees encourage their children and grandchildren to get some kind of education.
Because that's what you hear all the companies in West Virginia talking about. We need trained employees, and this is the best way to do it.
The future of everything's on the youth, you know.
Waco's Smart 529 matching program is pretty simple. In West Virginia, the minimum amount you can contribute through payroll deduction is $15. Employees that contribute that $15 minimum get $5 from Waco. Then for everything over that $15, Waco matches 50 cents on the dollar up to $250 a year. Once you break that down, an employee can get the maximum $250 match by contributing less than $25 a pay period. If you're interested in learning more about setting up Smart 529 payroll deduction or matching programs for your business, call 866-574-3542. You can also learn more about the plan online at smart529.com. Well, Smart 529 is celebrating its 10th anniversary as West Virginia's official college savings plan. Treasurer Perdue believes every West Virginian should be able to pursue a higher education at a price he or she can afford. That's why he encourages people to save for their future education with the Smart 529 plan. With Smart 529, you can save for tuition, fees, room and board, books and supplies, and you can use your savings at thousands of institutions nationwide, including colleges, universities, and vocational schools. In honor of the Smart 529 10th anniversary, we'll be celebrating at the State Fair of West Virginia, August 10th through the 18th. You can visit the Treasurer's office booth inside the West Virginia building. Kids 16 and under can play the Catch Your College Savings game, where they will have a chance to win $50 in a Smart 529 account, or our grand prize giveaway, tickets to the Victoria Justice Concert at the State Fair. Reporting for Treasury Notes, I'm Kim Ward.
Certified educational planner Jamie Dickenson is here with us today to talk more about the importance of saving for education. Jamie, thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you.
It's nice
Thanks
to have
for having me.
Yeah.
I always love to come do the Treasurer's Show.
You've been here a couple of times, and that's, of course, due to your expertise with helping kids get into college and the admissions process. And let's just chat about that for a while, if we can. Now, you're a certified educational planner. What's that mean?
Just like anything else, when you're a CPA or, I had to take a test. So there was things that I had to do. I had to be in business for so many years. I had to have had so many clients. I had to have visited so many colleges. And then, of course, I had to take an exam. And so I think I'm the only certified educational planner still in West Virginia. So, and I like it like that.
Yeah, I bet you did. I don't blame you. Now, that's a field that maybe some people don't even know exists, I'm guessing, that you actually can make a living with helping kids with the admissions process and, how to go about applying for financial aid and this, that, and the other. Do you think that someone could have made a living doing this, say, 20, 25 years ago? Or? No,
you know what? The whole organization is relatively young in comparison to everything else. And you know what? I think a lot of it's arisen from the fact that we have so many kids going to college now, and that includes international kids coming here that, when I was working on my MBA, I hated economics. I think I have no idea why I have to study this. But it's really about supply and demand. And, the more kids they have coming, then the more luxury the colleges have to choose, and therefore it makes it more competitive and more difficult to get in. And then when that happens, we are in a society where people pay for advice. And so, you can get advice on anything. And so there blossomed this occupation of helping, kids through their first big decision of their life. And what else, when we talk to parents, we're talking about their kids and their money. What else is there? Another reason I think it's become so popular is because the cost of college has skyrocketed. And when you've got that much money tied into a decision, you probably should have professional advice on it.
That was going to be my next question. I would guess that the skyrocketing cost has made everything more competitive, and everybody's looking for an edge. And you're right, people will pay for the kind of advice that they, if they think it's worth it.
Well, if you think about this, how many people will go to their stockbrokers and, try to get an extra percentage on their retirement, or go to see their banker and try to save a percentage on their home loan? Well, when you are looking at anywhere from, $60,000 undergrad in-state to $250,000 out-of-state, some of these large, private institutions, that is a lot of money. And if you multiply that by the number of kids in a family, then realize that the cost of college is going up faster than the rate of inflation. It's enough to make anybody stay up, at night and worry about how are they going to pay for their kids to go to college.
Mm-hmm. What kind of advice do you give parents in that situation? I mean, should everyone, shoot to keep up with the Joneses and send their kids to, Harvard or Yale or MIT or whatever? I mean, aren't there different levels of colleges for different folks, and you can come out of, a school that, has a solid reputation but isn't as expensive and still do okay?
Yeah, and one thing, I really don't think the name of the school is what makes a student successful. I think that was determined long ago when their integrity, their perseverance, that's really what makes a person successful. So, there are people there are people that have graduated from Harvard that are not successful, and there are people who've never gone to college who are successful. I do think that higher education is very needed because we do better when we have an educated society. And I know I'm very happy that I put the time, effort, and energy into to go to at least get my bachelor's and then go on to get my master's, which I enjoyed a whole lot more than my undergrad degree, actually. Mm-hmm. But I think that we just do better as an economy if we have a more highly educated workforce. And by that, I don't mean that I think everybody should go to a 4-year college and have a bachelor's degree and all that. Even trade schools or anything. I just think that people need some form of education higher than high school. Mm-hmm. And that's what's nice about 529 per land, because you can use it for any of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kim's report highlighted 529. Of course, it's an excellent program. You get a lot of tax advantages. You can let the money grow. The benefits are well known. That's one aspect of what you do. I'm sure you mentioned that the plan in the course of what you do. But what is the first step, assuming someone has some sort of savings vehicle, whether it be a 529 plan or something else? What's the very first thing when a kid is actually getting ready to go to college that you advise the parents to do?
Apply for financial aid. There are so many people that don't even apply for financial aid because they think, one, they don't qualify, so we're not going to qualify, so why should we apply? Two, or they don't understand how to apply, and therefore they miss deadlines, which that's the worst thing that you can do when you're looking for money for college, is to miss a deadline. So I think there are a lot of myths about, how to get money for college, that people just assume they're not going to get any, and then colleges love that. If you don't apply for financial aid, for anything, then you just need to get ready for it. Right, exactly. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Mm-hmm. But there's only 5 areas you can look for money for college. First and foremost, the federal government, okay, and that's filling out the FAFSA form, which stands for
I'm sorry. Oh. Yeah. You're going to tell us what that is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, which is the free application for federal student aid. Mm-hmm. Everyone that's got a kid going to college should fill that out, and it's an annual event. It's every year, and that's going to trigger your Pell Grant, your work study, SEOG, all of that. We're very lucky in West Virginia in that it passes automatically down to the state. So the second place to look for money is your home state. So here we have the Promise Scholarship, West Virginia Higher Education Grant money, all of the, the Underwood Smith Teacher Scholarship, those things. So the second place is the state. Then third place, which is the colleges and universities themselves, which I think is probably the place that most people miss out, is because they don't apply to college early enough, and then they don't look for all the scholarship opportunities at college. Then fourth is private outside scholarship. So people call me and like, Jamie, is it true there's a scholarship for a left-handed Native American Indian that can quilt? Or like, they come up with the craziest things for scholarships.
That's pretty good.
And there are about 800,000 scholarships out there in fastweb.com. So you can go out there and look. And then fifth is out of mom and dad's pocket, which is where the Smart 529 comes in, because it's either pay me now or pay me later. So you can save it, as you're going up and earn a little bit of interest, or if you get to college and you don't have it, federal government will loan it to you at 8% or more, and so you're just better off to save it as you go along.
Yeah. Well, that leads us to another thing, the student debt crisis. And there's all kinds of things tied into that. I suppose to head off debts, one of the things you want to do, you mentioned scholarships, and the Promise Scholarship is an obvious, I don't know if it's a starting point, but people are familiar with it. Mm-hmm. Now, you have to make a certain test score. What do you do to help kids that are struggling to make that test score? You have a program, I believe, and probably you and other people who, not just you, but you and other people who do this, have programs to help them get their scores up. How do you do that?
Well, you just put them in test prep. I mean, and that's what happened to me. I was a straight A student, overachieving crazy chick, had to make straight A's, never struggled in school. But put me in to take a standardized test, it would kick my tail. It would make me so crazy. And so therefore, of course, now I do what I do, and I fashion my practice around what I wish somebody told me. I wish somebody had said, listen, test taking is all about tips and strategies. You got to know your timing, you got to refresh, you can't let your nerves get the best of you. So I think a lot of times kids lose their promise or don't get their promised scholarship because they can't get the test scores, especially in the math. Mm-hmm. And what happens is by the time you have a kid that gets up to 11th grade and they start testing in math, the math on the testing is so basic. It's Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry. Well, a lot of kids haven't had that since 7th, 8th grade. So you have to go back and refresh them. So I'll have kids that are like, be up in pre-cal trig and be like, my math score is low. I'm like, it's because you've forgotten all of that. Mm-hmm. It's just common sense stuff that nobody ever tells them. So I don't care whether they prep at my tutoring center or a Princeton review class, a Kaplan class, or anything online, just as long as they refresh themselves. That's the big thing. Mm-hmm. But I think there were like 18,500 seniors last year, the class of 2012, and only like 3,100 maybe Promise Scholar recipients, and that's $20,000 over 4 years. That's close to $20,000. That's a lot of money to not get.
Mm-hmm. Is there a point when a kid is close to getting that score and you urge him on, or him or her on, or, is it, do you sort of make a judgment on whether the kid needs test prep, or, he just might have to pay the money?
Well, first of all, a lot of parents want their kids to just keep taking the test over and over and over again, and so you have 13 tests a year to qualify. You have 7 ACTs and 6 SATs. Well, do you remember how painful it is to get up on a Saturday morning when you're 15 and go at 8 o'clock in the morning and sit through 3 hours and 45 minutes of standardized testing? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's agonizingly painful for anybody. Mm-hmm. So what I tell the kids I work with is, listen, just suck it up. You're going to have to study. You're going to have to refresh. For a month before the exam, really do your due diligence, and then just go in and take it and get your scores and be done with it. And quit making it painful.
All right. Jamie, we're going to talk to you some more when we come back. Treasury Notes will return.
I want my kids to have a better future than what I did.
It's key to have other people contribute to the 529.
This is a gift that we'll give for a lifetime.
A Smart 529 would be an incredible gift for a family member to give to a child.
Yeah, something that would give for decades after the original gift.
I just want to thank you guys for saving a college plan for me.
And it makes it worth it.
Welcome back to Treasury Notes. I'm Greg Stone. Jamie Dickenson, a certified education planner, is with us today, and we've been talking about different topics associated with planning for college and the admissions process. And one thing I wanted to touch on, Jamie, on your website, which is excellent, by the way, you mentioned the difference in loans, or what to look for in a loan. Now, to my mind, I know there are different, I know inherently there are differences in loans, but I kind of blanch at the whole idea of a loan. But some loans are better than others, I take it.
Well, you have to look at when your interest starts. First of all, how much is your interest rate? When does it start? And then when you get, like when the students get their loans, the Stafford loans, they either get offered a subsidized loan or an unsubsidized loan. And the only difference is when does the interest start. So a subsidized loan means that the federal government's going to carry the interest till 6 to 9 months after the student graduates. An unsubsidized loan means that the student's interest starts accumulating right then. Now they don't have payments till after they graduate, but that's just the difference in the, the Stafford loans. Then you've got the Perkins loans, which is similar, the same thing, low income loans. And then you have the PLUS loan, which stands for Parent Loan to Undergraduate Students. So anything net out of pocket after their scholarships and the students' loans and work study and all that, the federal government will loan parents net out of pocket. And, it's got its tax advantages too, that interest. But the interest rate is really high. In the old days, when I first started in business like 12 or 13 years ago, it was like 3.2%. So it made it a lot more amicable for parents to borrow money to pay for college. But now at 8 or 8.5%, that's
Wow.
a lot of interest that you're paying for student loans.
How much longer can we sustain this as a society when we're trying to provide higher education? And I guess that's maybe a topic for another day, but it's kind of mind-boggling.
Well, you know what? You think about these schools that are $60,000 a year will get sometimes 35,000 freshman applications, and they may admit 2,500 kids, but they have a huge wait list. And until people say, I'm not going to pay that, and colleges have empty seats,
Exactly.
then they're not going to do it. But you know what? You can almost understand why it's expensive to, run colleges. Like I go out and go on college tour. I was just at the University of the South in Swanee, Tennessee. 13,000 acres for 1,300 kids. Now you talk about a lot of upkeep. And
Each
so
kid has his own acre.
Yeah, and you know what? Now kids these days, they want top-notch athletic facilities, they want rock climbing walls, they want dorms like palaces,
Yeah,
they
I
want
know.
cafeterias that are steakhouses. So these kids are really demanding. And so for colleges to compete, they're having to step up to the pump. But I would probably say that technology is probably what has cost more college costs to go up than anything else.
Yeah. Is there not a bubble there in college costs at some point, though, that's got to pop?
Oh, we had a bubble at like $49,000 for a long time. It was like there was no school for a long time that went above $49,999. It was like that unspoken word. Then George Washington University in Washington, D.C. crossed that, and that just opened up the floodgates. Now we're up to 57, 58,000. So we're at that 60 level, and I think this year probably we'll have schools over 60,000 a year. I mean, you're looking at $250,000 undergrad education.
Wow. On your website, you mentioned that you also help kids determine a major. Now, how do you do that, especially when they're so young?
Well, my guidance counselor said, oh, you're good at math, being an accountant, you always have a job. Well, I did have a job, but I hated it. So when I had the idea to start a college counseling business, I really tried to figure out how could I get to know a student to help them figure out what they would naturally be good at. Because I think if you do what you're naturally gifted at, you'll be successful and the money will come. So I do Myers-Briggs personality assessments with the kids. I do strong interest inventory with the kids just to help them figure out what their interests and, what they like and what they don't like. I mean, I think you can train a monkey to do anything. I was highly trained as an accountant and I could do it and, was good at it. It just didn't mean I liked getting up out of bed every morning and going to work. And that's what I want for the kids. I want them to love their job.
As someone who's not in that field, I can see that the advantages of deciding what you want to study early because it saves money and you rack up less costs and all that. But on the other hand, what if you get in there and you decide you don't like what you're
Well, then hopefully you've thought about it a lot. So
maybe you got a plan B already.
Yeah, so a lot of parents will be like, well, I don't know why you have to decide, because I do think college is where you go to figure out what you're good at and what you're good for. But it's not to say we can't think about it, because when you're in college and you think about it and you change your major, and if you have to take classes during the summer, or if it costs you an extra year or whatever, that's just a lot of money.
That's another thing that's the thing that the greatest thing I see, or the greatest reason I see for claiming a major early and sticking with it. because the cost is just so high, and you just don't want to rack up more debts than you have to.
Well, and you know what, when I work with my kids, they will normally during the summers go do like a pre-college program. So if I have a student that thinks she might like engineering, one of my kids right now is at the University of Dayton in the Women in Engineering program. It's a week-long program. You know, have them go spend a week before they subject themselves to 4 years of it. But what I try to do, it's really easy actually to get down to like 3 main categories, and that's what I do with my kids. So like I love business, but not the standard operating procedure side of business, which I got in. I like more the entrepreneurship, marketing, you know, the flexible side. But I also love psychology, and I also love communications. Like I love doing TV, radio. So I would have liked a school that was strong in the more flexible side of business, the psychology and the communications, so that if I actually got there and changed, I didn't have to change schools, or I major in business, minor in communications. You know, you can mix it up. You don't have to do anything.
There's a long list of places that you and others in your field, I take it, have visited all kinds of schools. Why do you do that? Just so you're familiar with the school and you can tell the kid this is kind of what it's like?
Well, first of all, for me, I think it's got to be the right fit. So it's got to be the right fit for the student socially, emotionally, academically, but it's also got to be the right fit for the parent's pocketbook. Okay? If I don't ever get out of my office, if I don't go walk college campuses, I don't have my finger on the pulse of college admissions, financial aid, scholarships. So, you know, then I can't come back and say to a student, you know what? I was on tour and I was at this medical school and they said, keep those kids in Spanish. Those kids need to be in Spanish because by the time they graduate, 50% of the people they're going to be treating are going to be Spanish speaking. So then I have a kid that says, oh, I want to do 2 years of Spanish, I'm dropping out, but I want to be a doctor. I'm like, listen, when I was at so-and-so's medical school, they said, keep those kids in Spanish. So I just think it's good, first of all, for me to hear the knowledge firsthand from financial aid officers and college admissions officers and college presidents as well. But also, you know, if I have a student that's very conservative, very traditional, they might not like a university where the kids are very liberal with a lot of body piercings and tattoos. So, you know, by the time you go, you can't have
You don't see too many of that at Bob Jones?
No, no.
Have you been to Bob Jones?
No, I have not. I've been to Liberty University.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't know how wide a variety of places
I haven't been. But I've been to a lot of, you know, Christian schools and, you know,
and that's what some people want.
Yeah, I've been to Brandeis University, which is,
that's very
you know, more Jewish, and then there's a lot of the Catholic schools like Dayton, Xavier, you know, Boston College that are more Catholic. So you can find, I mean, there are 4,000 colleges and universities in this country. I mean, we think there's 2 around here, Marshall and WVU, but, you know, we have so many fabulous schools in West Virginia, and you know what? The public schools, the private schools are taking a hit too because people perceive that to be too expensive.
We get one more question and we'll have to wrap up. You hear a lot about AP courses, associated placement courses. Are they worth it? Are they a good thing to do?
Well, it depends on what the student's goal is. If I have a student that says, I'm going out of state to a university, then I would steer them towards AP. If I have a kid that says, I'm going to go to Marshall, I'm going to go to West Virginia University, they'd probably be better off to do dual credit classes. And, I mean, they still get their college credit. The only difference is with a dual credit class, they get to take their grade. With an AP class, they only get credit. They don't take a grade. So if I have a student that does AP calculus in high school and gets their score and tests out of calculus out, and they're going to be an engineering major, I would probably be like, even though you tested out of it, if I were you, I probably would take calculus again.
Really?
Because it could easily drop their GPA. If they went straight into sophomore level math, you know, then you got to keep your promised scholarship. So there's a lot with college now that's not just about where you're going to go and how you're going to pay for it.
All right. Well, Jamie, I hate to cut you off.
That's
We've covered a lot of great ground here. Thank you. And remember, you can always get the latest news and information from the State Treasurer's Office at wvtreasury.com. Keeping you informed on the Library Television Network, I'm Greg Stone with the Office of West Virginia State Treasurer John Perdue.